Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of you, and peace out to the rest of you. I need to give two shouts out. One to Passport OG. That upload about not defining our manhood by GTD, getting the draws, was awesome and necessary. It's true, we can't. We have to stop and think about a mindset as fickle as the Western Nisha, be she Akeisha or Becky, as AC would say. You have to stop and think about how fickle her mindset is. If you define your manhood on her sexual access that she grants you, what the hell is she going to do? Well, it's no secret. Once that becomes the way that you define your manhood, she's going to deny it to you at every turn because that's who the hell she is. And she denies that to you. She's doing it so that you can't call yourself a man, because don't know bitches want to smash. So now we already got an issue at that point. Secondly, because both of them are in this race, all puns intended, to emasculate men of their own race by using the men of the other. White women eagerly cucking their white husbands with black breeding bulls, as they call them. Or sisters trying to divest and swirl and swearing up and down that black men just ain't about nothing, ever, no exceptions. And that Massa's grandson is a real provider, even though all he's really doing is spending what he got from granddad, not paying our granddad. That's what each of them are doing. So if you define your manhood by anything that requires their approval, they will deny every time, because it's what they want to do. And then the women of the other side of the line, in our case, the white women will come along and then fetishize you, giving you easy sexual access, but they'll just do that so they can sit up and say, well, so they can tell the men of their own race, well, they're real men and you're not. So, they're really just in this race to offend their own men. They're each in a race to offend the men of their own race. What a lovely pun. In an environment like that, you have to share Passport OG's video. I do, but you also have to share it. If I share it, it doesn't increase his views because our audiences overlap. And he has, I say they overlap, but his audience is a bigger audience than mine. And it should be. He puts more work into his videos. It's only fair. But if you all share it, then it's going to circulate. I mean, I dare say it would become a mainstream idea amongst our people, and it needs to be. That is long overdue. So with that being said, I think you get the point. But the second shout out I need to send is to S. Jock. from the bottom of my black heart and from the depth of my black mind. Because not only has Jock come through frequently on Cash App, but he sends me links, and I can't check them all out, but he sends links that cover news in parts of the world where I don't live. I've seen many people's different takes on Trump's first 24 hours in office, but let me go ahead and tell you that the best summary that I got was sent to me by S. Jock. So he sends funds and he sends links to summarize what's going on in different places for me or to explain. But some of them are really good summaries that paint clear pictures in a short time. I don't want the black manosphere to make the mistake of thinking that because we're sick of the left wing BS, that we have a friend in Trump. Trump is a partner when your interests coincide. If you have common interests, he seems like the type of guy with whom you can work, but don't get it twisted. He is not a friend. I don't think he's a friend to his own race. I don't think he's a friend to us either. I don't think he wants us necessarily eliminated. But the truth be told, Trump has a riot mentality. Would he riot? No. Would he stir people up? Yeah, he would. Now, when he got in office, he pardoned them. This time, many of them were not really convicted until after he was out of office the last time anyway. So he encouraged them to go somewhere. But what they did there that became illegal was something he really could not pardon even if he wanted to. And had he done so, I would have said this is pure nepotism. Absolutely. But by the same token, the fact that he couldn't, I pointed to as a failure. There's not a right way to handle something like that once you tell people to go somewhere, but you know that you are appealing to an intellectual class that are prone to riots. Now, some would say, well, you know, white folks don't really riot like that. Look, I've been there before. And I've been there before. I've been to the States before, and I've been around them kinds of white folk. Been around them, seen them. I'm telling you that, yes, actually, they are prone to a riotous mindset if something that they hold sacred is threatened. And they are prone to hold dumb things sacred. The veracity of professional wrestling. Their favorite sports teams' winning streaks are sacred. When they're threatened, they will riot. We've seen them do it. Black folk riot when somebody gets shot, or don't even riot, actually. We demonstrate and someone else comes in and starts the riots. They riot over sports games, which we now know. You stand up for yourself, well, you're just a no-good N-word and you're ungrateful for the civilizing effects of white people. But they'll turn around and react to that with riots. Riots. Violence. Trump may not feel the same hatred as many of his supporters, but he was willing to tap into that hatred to ride the wave of that support into the White House once and then back in again. That's dangerous. You may agree with him about the invalidity of the far left, but understand that your conservatisms are not the same. Our conservatism is generally a moral conservatism. Theirs is not. It's racial. That means it really applies to how they think you should behave. It's practical, not really. It's very political. They're actually quite hypocritical with theirs. And I know because I worked with a lot of far right Republican whites. And the one good job that I had in the United States, and I quickly saw it, they have a herd mentality, a mob mentality, and they really don't critically analyze what they've been taught and what they think and what they've been told. They really think that the law is not supposed to apply to them. They believe in law and order for you and me, not so much for them. They believe that if they just find something to be inconvenient, they can be disobedient. Whether or not Trump believes in all of these things, he taps into that, and he does not betray those who support him when they believe it, even when he should betray them, because that wouldn't even really be a betrayal. Trump is not a mature person in terms of his behavior. He doesn't have much empathy. He may have been wrongly prosecuted. That may very well have been the case. Wrongly prosecuted. Because from what I understand, a lot of the evidence was circular. But understand this. If he's willing to work with us, and this is how you'll know when to work with him and when not to. If he's willing to work with us for things that involve a peaceful distinction between our America and his, it sounds like the time to consider it, and even then cover your bases. If he says he's going to pay you to do something, then you ask for at least half of it up front. Because if he can avoid paying you what he owes, he will do it. He will pay lawyers to fight it in court before he pays you. That's how he makes his money. Quiet as it's kept, his granddad made money that way. His granddad sold stuff he didn't even own. He's lied about reading the Bible. He didn't think it was wrong to separate children from their parents at the border. That was cold. And he didn't necessarily shut down an app that was being exploited per se, not that we know of. He shut down an app that allowed people to legally ask for asylum. They can ask. Now, the case could be decided and the request could be denied or it could be granted. But to ask for it is legal. See, understand this. I don't want black folk to celebrate the inability of people to ask for asylum because that could set a precedent. If you can't ask for asylum in other places, which the UN has already said you can, then it's going to get worse for us. I don't want us making a mistake, some of us, of thinking that we're going to be side by side with these right-wing drawl talking with repubs because we're all American at the end of the day. It's not how they view it. They talk that way at times, but that's not, at the end, that's not really the way they view it. I don't want us thinking that. Don't drop your guard. He will do things for us, but he will do things against us, and he will do things for us at a cost. And I want us to understand what the costs are going to be. I am all for us having all these legitimate grudges with Latin Americans at this point. But that's because of their antipathy towards us and what they're willing to do against us when we ain't done nothing to them. Not for the same reasons that white folk got antipathy towards them. Because, see, both of them are born out of white supremacy. White folk just don't mind us fighting them and them fighting us. That's all. And Latin Americans are very, very willing to do it. So we have a right to hostility towards their racial attitudes and those of them that carry that. We got every right. As a matter of fact, we're obligated to be against them. But don't sit up and think that when white folks start saying, okay, here's some guns, now go kill some, and then throw in the racial epithet they use towards Latin Americans, that means that you and Massa are cool now, and you gonna go and take out the real enemy. Don't think that. Don't fall for that for a minute. Because you see, the same white supremacy that put us in the situation in which we've been in is a white supremacy that Latin Americans have towards us. Who you think taught them this antipathy towards black folk? So the same ones that taught this to them are going to turn around and then say to us, hey, you know, now you can go fight them. Keep this in mind. That's some foolishness. I don't believe in us fighting unjust wars for other people. Muhammad Ali set the example for that. And quiet as it's kept, Muhammad Ali saved quite many brothers' lives in Vietnam. Many black vets in Vietnam have said that there have been times when they realized that they could have easily been shot and taken out, and they weren't, because a lot of the Viet Cong realized that many soldiers were drafted, but black men, they really saw as draftees. And they said, we ain't shooting them if we can help it. They used to broadcast through the rainforest. They would broadcast on big loudspeakers, "Soul brother, not your war." They're pretty much saying, if you don't shoot us, we're not shooting at you. The stories of brothers waking up and seeing some Viet Cong looking at them, putting the black power fist off and sneaking off. And I want us to maintain that moral superiority abroad. When people want to have conversations here with me about America's foreign policy, I tell them, close your mouth. I agree with you, but close your mouth, because I'm not the American that did it. I came here for a reason. That foreign policy is a flip side of a coin called white supremacy. You're seeing the global international face of it. I saw the domestic face of it. Go talk to them white Americans about that foreign policy. Now, of course, like I said, a lot of people here don't always know I'm black. So if they say, well, wait, aren't you white? I said, no, I'm not. Don't call me that. I'm one of its victims. Don't get it twisted. White power is a threat. And that's what he represents. Now, right now, at this point, many right-wingers want to try to seem very sensible. They want to try that. And if they're really about a peaceful separation because they want to live with their own people and they want us to live with our own people and they really don't want to harm us, okay, that's worth sitting down and discussing. Now, they want to exploit us, screw them. Whichever one supports Trump the most vociferously and financially is the one he will back up. I don't want some of us who are really, really, really fed up with the left and their BS to make the mistake of dropping their guard because he's in office. Understand this. He pardoned a bunch of white supremacist rioters. If they really believed that the election was being toyed with, they weren't supposed to go storm the Capitol according to themselves. I don't feel a guck really one way or another until they mess with that black officer that was Capitol Hill Police. But they killed a white one. And according to their own rules, it's not acceptable. We have a right to do that, and they would never let us do that. They wouldn't even admit that we have the right. And he pardoned them. Some are going to say, well, he pardoned Enrique Tarrios too. Yeah, but what does he represent? He did pardon him. Like I said, Trump will go where he's supported, whether it's just white separatism or hatred. He'll go where he's supported. We can't support him more than they can. So he's not going to sit up and become our homeboy. He may be willing to work with us on certain things, but there's a level of support he cannot have for us. Politically speaking, it will be political suicide, even when it's the morally right thing to do. That's what it means to be president of the United States, whether it's Barack or him. But understand something. You're not going to have an ally in the White House. It's called the White House for a reason. And I'm not talking some spooky, nebulous, pro-black conspiracy theory. No, it's just America's religion. I've told many a non-black and black Arab over here that America's religion is not Christianity, it's white supremacy. I've told them this before. Sometimes they get it and other times they don't. But let me tell you all this too, though. Back to what I was getting at. Don't drop your guard because he happens to be against some of the same things we're against. Because keep in mind that his opposition to them, in many cases, is not even based on our opposition. Ours is moral. Always has been. It better be. I also want you to understand that neither he nor either one of the two camps that could support him are good at taking accountability. They're just not. Red voting type white guys do not take accountability. They want everyone else to, not them. Now, we believe in it for everybody, including ourselves. We believe in behaving in such a way as to not have to take accountability for something we can't stand to take accountability for by not doing it, by not being guilty. They believe in just not taking accountability for it. Oh, come on, I'm white. I'm supposed to do this. That's different. That's how they are. And I know what I'm looking at because I've seen a different variety of it here amongst the non-black Arabs. That duck and dodge that accountability like snakes. Try to slither around it. And I really don't know which one is worse. Because here they're Muslim and there's a standard of behavior we have to meet and they fail to do it. And I don't forgive that. You don't preach Islam to me and then turn around and cheat on exams and then deny accountability when you fail. To me, you don't do that. And I've seen the links to which these guys go. And it's astounding. But I wanted you to understand that when I tell you my funny stories about the things these guys over here do to cheat on my Jet Black Air Lounge platform, if you will, I tell you that there. If you're subscribed, you know about it. Understand this, man. Right-wing Republicans over there where you are not more accountable. I've lived around them. I've worked with them. I went to middle school with them, elementary school with them, although politics was nothing back then. I went to high school with some of them for 2 years. Didn't see them again for many years to come. Wasn't around them, nothing. for many years to come, from the time I went to an all-black high school all the way up until about um, I say all the way up until I got this really good job. Uh, well, I went to school with them in 2004 and 2005. And then I got this really good job in 2011, and I was around them. Now, I was actually up close with them, in close quarters, working with them. We did not know each other over the internet. They're not accountable. They talk it, as SWP would say, my bootstraps, and account of personal responsibility. They don't actually do that. That's not how they are. They told me I was one of the fastest learners. And one boss who was actually honest, and he wasn't into most of that stuff, sat up and said to me that I was I superseded my colleagues because I would let him know where I was. Now, the job did not involve being at the same place all the time, but he said, um, he even said, you know, the good thing is that you let at least let me know where you are. So to someone, if my boss comes and asks where the team members are, I can say, well, Jet Black over here is at the other courthouse's site where the records are being kept, or where the archives are, something like that. I mean, there was the type of research we had to do with this job. And he'd tell me, he would say that 14 months after I got started and I was doing a good job from my first month there, they were like, no, we're not keeping a lot of you. And if you weren't one of them right-wing white folk or sympathizers, they got rid of you. A gay white man stood up for a black American brother to keep him employed. They said, okay, fine. They didn't lay off the brother. They laid that gay white man off, and they were like, take your little broken wristed ass somewhere else. They weren't playing. And it was because Barack Obama won the second election. That's what that was about. And then, excuse me, sorry about that. And so I guess about, trying to think. Well, it was 11 years ago that I got into this country. I was done. And I never worked with him in close quarters like that since then. I got colleagues, but I don't have to actually work that closely with him. We don't even share classes like that anymore. And when we do the job. But I'm telling you that they don't really take accountability that well. Do not think, I don't want you to insult yourself by thinking that they are like you. No, the F they're not. Nobody compares to you. I know. I can't say to me, but to you, no. Nobody compares to you. I know. I've sat up and watched it. You want to see somebody compare to you? It's other black men. Black men from other places because they've been forced to as well. They compare to you. You want to see somebody compared to you? Hardworking brothers coming out of Southeast Asia with very fair ethics and standards. They compare to you. At least as much as they could reasonably expect it to. There's some upright men in general, hardworking hustlers, and then can turn around and be generous. That's, you want someone to compare to you, there they are. I do not want you sitting up here looking at these grandsons of plantation owners and clansmen, or the grandsons of those who were kept poor by the plantation owners and clansmen, but still wanted to be like them by owning your black ass. And think that they compare to you because they're also sick of the left wing stuff. They're sick of it for other reasons. They're sick of it because they can't keep up. You're sick of that stuff for a different reason, because it doesn't add up. Or you can keep up with it. You just know not to do that because it already doesn't add up. You know the BS is not going to stop. Also, because you know that even the left is going to say everything except what is actually true, that you owe an ass whooping to all of them, and they owe you the benefits that your grandparents have provided them for which they were never paid. That's the truth of the matter. And that's why I'm sitting here telling you that if he was really an ally, don't ever forget this, if any of them getting elected into office were truly allies, they would have pardoned Assata Shakur and Jamil Al-Amin. If they were truly just, they would actually stop supporting Israel and they would support Palestine against Israel. Not just out of bias, just merely reversed in the opposite direction. They love to call that stuff, reverse racism. No, but out of a sense of justice. It was Palestine before. And they got oppressed. They didn't do the oppressing, they got oppressed. And not only that, but because Assata Shakur and Jamil Al-Amin's cause was more morally correct than that January 6th riot. Obama didn't issue those pardons. He should have. Trump didn't issue them, and we didn't expect him to his first time around. And Biden didn't issue them, but instead chose to pardon his son and Marcus Garvey. Excuse me, for the what? What are we doing here? His son and Marcus Garvey. That's an insult in a disguise. It's the right thing to do, morally speaking, but entirely too mother cuss word late to be right anymore. And that's why he did it. It's of no consequence. It's a symbolic gesture. Here in words, he's off the hook now. Bitch, his great grandchildren are old. How fair is that? No, Assata Shakur, one, I don't think she killed the New Jersey state trooper, and two, her cause was just. Like I said, black folk owe America an ass whooping. They know it. Black folks owe the white Western world an ass whooping. But we're not giving them one. We're not going to. However, morally speaking, that's what's owed. And they owe us the benefits that they get from living as they do. Because they took it from us. They took it from us and a few other people. So I don't want you making that mistake of thinking that they're your allies, because they'll turn around and have you fighting against Latin Americans for the wrong reason. Now, we might have a fight against them that's legitimate, but we don't need to turn around and add illegitimate reasons to that. We're not here to serve either of them, because both of them have subscribed to white supremacy, collectively speaking. And truth be told, there are many sectors of Latin America that are shunning that sort of thing. Colombia is one of them. I'm not saying all of Colombia, but what I'm saying is that many folk in Colombia actually respect black folks' right to be equally proud of their African heritage. There was a white Colombian who proudly told me that there were black folks in Colombia who still spoke their African language. He was proud. I was like, wait, what? And he said, yes, I want you to see it. because you're speaking an African language to this man here. And he pointed to my man from Ethiopia. He said, you're an African American and you learned an African language. And I think that those Afro-Colombians in Palenque would be glad to meet you because they kept their language. He meant no. I assumed he was a racist when I met him, and it turned out he wasn't. I mean, just to be fair, he wasn't. You got more and more Colombians that could be questioned about their race, and they're sitting up and starting to say, no, I'm actually an African Colombian. My cousin, well over a decade ago, probably 2 decades ago at this point, my cousin used to love to travel to Latin America. That man told me that and he's recognizable. And he told me that when one of his first trips to Costa Rica, he was just sitting at a bar trying to listen to the TV in Spanish. A sister walked in to the bar and she saw him from the actual bar. And she said, are you new in town? And he told her in Spanish, I just arrived today visiting. So she answered him in English when she heard his accent and said, has anybody told you where we hang out? And he said, who's we? And she said, Africans. She identified, she knows he's African American. She knows she's Costa Rican. She identified them as Africans. And that was when my cousin began to feel more proud about it. He went and took my brother, before my brother was married or even before he was engaged, he went and took my brother with him on a trip to Colombia, to dig out some to Brazil, to dig out some brasileiras, to have one of them type holidays. My brother quickly, to my brother's credit, before it even got to that, my brother got in on the Black Brazilian revival scene, if you will. Now, I suspected that my brother by this point wanted to marry and not go the fornication route. I think that by that point, that's what it was. I'm guessing. But that's where he went. And they were calling themselves Africans. But what I don't want to see us do is start getting into fights with folks like that in the interest of some white folk because they just don't like Latin Americans, black, white, or brown, or mestizo, or take your pick. I mean, of course, they probably wouldn't mind the actual white ones. I've heard white Americans over here say, well, the Syrians are really some white-looking people. And I'm like, they are white, but they're Muslim. Oh, okay. See, I get it. If they changed their religion, then they'd be counted as white. I didn't even tell the guy that actually a lot of Syrians were Christian. I just said, I get it, man. I get it. I stand corrected. I just fucked the shuck up. But see, that's that mindset. I'm not willing to sit up here and see my people. Of course, sisters are willing to fight with anybody at this point that might actually like them or validate them or anything like that. They're willing to do that. Turn around and tell everybody else, you ain't black enough, and then want to black and white guys, or I don't know, call them light-skinned Harry, stuff like that, like what they did with Prince Harry, whose so-called black wife left him too. Go figure. That's different. But I don't want to see black men caught up in other people's struggles for the wrong reason. Trump sitting up telling, understand this. Trump is telling Israel that's not our war anymore. That's the right thing to say, but you really think he's saying that for the right reason? No. And that was the case, he'd have said it his first term. Everybody in office has to support one particular state against its opponent, against its victim, really. They all do. They absolutely do. Two things they're not allowed to do. They can't change that foreign policy, and they can't change the domestic policy of supporting us over there or over the majority people of the United States. Not allowed to do that. Sit up and say Palestine's right, their oppressors are wrong. Black folk are right, and their oppressors are wrong. You can't sit up and say something like that and stay in the White House. Ain't been an exception to that. Don't look for him to be one when he was already in the White House before. Now, he might say, okay, we're not going to spend America's money on it. He might say that, but best believe that lobbying group's going to go after him. And everything they say ain't going to be a lie. So no, don't make that mistake of dropping your guard. You can be prepared to work with him when he shows that he's actually going to keep his end of a bargain. And then still be prepared for him to decide not to, or be shot because he would. And you lose whatever benefits you were going to get with him being alive and working his end of the bargain. Whatever the case is, be prepared. Black folk, there's not really going to be a day you can just give up your pessimism. I hate to say that. Black men, straight black men in the U.S., that day ain't coming either. Unless you get off to a good start in another country. Somewhere else, and a good start at that. So continue to keep your original goal. If you're in the States, you're in the West, work to save, to either get you off to a good start elsewhere or to help another brother that can get off to a good start elsewhere. That's what you do. Keep that focus, because the U.S. is not going to become this comfortable homeland for us. You deserve the rights and the benefits of it. I'm not saying you give up the right to enter and give up the citizenship. No, you don't give up a damn thing, but don't actually bank on and rely on you being able to get what you deserve either from there. That's optimism. And that's one thing they're going to always prove wrong. Right now, many of you have come to this realization about the sisters. You just have to remember that behind the sisters is that system. And when the sisters don't do it, the system will step in with somebody else to do it. There is no day of optimism coming for you. No day of optimism being justified coming for you within the context of the states and its current political systems. And it's not there. Nope. I wish it was. Trust me. I've been optimistic before and been disappointed. I've been pessimistic and not only not been disappointed, I've been pessimistic. I mean, it's hard to be when you're pessimistic, because if things turn out great, it's not a disappointment. But when I've been pessimistic, I've been very accurate. That's what bothers me about it. I've been pessimistic and accurate. There are a few times I've been pessimistic and still been disappointed because of stuff I didn't know to be pessimistic about. And that's rare, but that has happened more often than me being optimistic and being proven right. My optimism's not, I'm not optimistic and then things turn out the way. No, that doesn't happen. It's not the way that works. I hope that this helps, and thank you for listening so patiently as I went on this long. And regarding S. Jock coming through with not only these links, but also with that Cash App support, let me remind you all, don't let S. Jock and D. Smith carry all of that by themselves. I'm not even asking you all to send in these large amounts. Now, D. Smith sends in, I mean, when he sends it in, he's generous. I hope he's not hurting himself. I really do. But I'm not asking you all to do that. I'm asking more of you to send in small amounts, $1, $2, some XRP or something like that. I put the wallets to them in most of the descriptions. That's what I'm really looking for, because really that's easier on you. But understand this: I'm able to translate that into um, some more sincere alliances in places where people are open to that. Right now, Southeast Asia. If you're really looking for allies, that's probably the place to look at this point. That'd be the closest place to it. Now, they tend to be very neutral about people in general, but that's the place I know of where um, they just don't kowtow to white supremacy, lock, stock, and barrel right off the bat. Hell, in Indonesia, a husband can tell his wife, "Don't you use that skin bleach," and she'll stop. You go tell a woman in Africa, "Put that skin bleach down," or throw it out, and watch her argue with you. So anyway, I hope that what I said helps. Thank you for being patient with me on this long jet black air flight. Uh, as always, black heart, black mind, black out. Black heterosexual, non-select male power because they don't like it. Black patriarchy until extinction of judgment day. Thank you for flying with us again here on Jet Black Air, where the phrase jet black is also a verb. Keep jetting black with us until the wings and the wheels fall off. Gender justice forever.